The Selkirk Seven. In the brittle light of an October dawn in 1899, the town of Selkirk, Montana, awoke to a silence that was louder than any scream. In the grandest house on Maple Street, 7 beds lay perfectly made, their linens smooth and undisturbed by sleep. But the 7 daughters of Gabriel Thornfield were gone. They had vanished from their locked home as completely as if they had been spirited away by the autumn wind, leaving behind not a single footprint in the frost, nor any sign of struggle. Their nightgowns hung neatly in their wardrobes, a chilling detail that suggested they had not fled in the night, but had perhaps been prepared for a departure they could not refuse. The official investigation would be sealed away for generations, not because it contained no answers, but because the single horrifying truth it pointed to was one that would shatter the very idea of safety in the American West. This is the story of a conspiracy of silence, a web of greed that ensnared an entire town, and the 7 sisters who became its most tragic casualties. The community of Selkirk was, in 1899, a place of sharp contrasts. Nestled in the shadow of the Bitterroot Mountains, it balanced on the razor's edge between its rugged frontier past and a future promised by the newly laid railroad tracks. The scent of pine and wood smoke mingled with the sharp odor of silver ore from the mines that fueled its prosperity. Main Street buzzed with the energy of ambition. Freight wagons laden with wealth, businessmen from eastern cities, and families who had journeyed for a chance at a new beginning. Yet beneath this vibrant surface, tensions simmered. There was a divide between the old families and the new money, and troubling whispers about young women who had come to the territory with their families, only to disappear under vague circumstances, their farewells tinged with unspoken sorrow. At the heart of this community was Gabriel Thornfield, a man whose rise from a widowed merchant with a wagon of supplies to the wealthiest man in 3 counties was the stuff of local legend. His devotion to his 7 daughters was as well known as his business acumen. He had built a magnificent Victorian mansion as a testament to his success and his commitment to providing his children with every advantage. The sisters themselves were the pride of Selkirk. Margaret, the eldest, was a teacher of remarkable skill, known for her sharp mind and dedication to her students. Catherine, an artist, captured the stunning Montana landscape on canvas, her work bringing beauty to homes throughout the valley. The twins, Eleanor and Elizabeth, ran a successful seamstress shop, a hub of community life where women gathered. Despite looking identical, their personalities were distinct. Eleanor was the outgoing business mind, while Elizabeth possessed a quiet, perceptive wisdom. Sarah, with a voice that filled the church, was the town's organizing spirit, leading charitable efforts with compassion. Grace, only 17, had a mathematical genius that made her indispensable to her father's complex business dealings. And Rebecca, the youngest at 14, was a beacon of joy, her laughter and kindness making her beloved by all. In the summer and autumn of 1899, however, a subtle unease began to gather around the Thornfield household. Gabriel started hosting private meetings with well-dressed strangers who arrived on the evening train and departed before dawn. The political climate was volatile, with labor disputes rippling through mining towns, and rumors followed the railroad lines, tales of sophisticated criminal enterprises preying on isolated communities. Against this backdrop, the sisters' behavior began to change. On October 12th, the day before the disappearance, the signs of distress were clear to those who knew them. Margaret was distracted at the schoolhouse, her normally impeccable lesson plans forgotten. Catherine paced in her garden, unable to focus on her painting. The twins whispered anxiously in their shop, making uncharacteristic errors. Sarah's singing at the church was faltering and out of tune. Even young Rebecca asked the housekeeper strange, melancholy questions about being separated from one's family. The most chilling sighting came in the afternoon, when the town doctor saw all 7 sisters walking together in silence toward the train depot, their faces pale masks of dread. That evening, the telegraph clerk saw them standing rigidly under a street lamp, dressed in their finest clothes as if for a solemn occasion, their expressions filled with a terrifying resignation. They were waiting. What happened inside the locked house after the housekeeper left at 10 p.m. remains the core of the mystery. Gabriel claimed he went to bed at his usual time, hearing nothing. But the next morning, the housekeeper discovered the impossible. Each bedroom was in perfect order, the beds unslept in, the nightgowns unused. Yet each room also bore the subtle marks of a methodical search. Drawers had been opened, personal items examined and replaced, but not with the sisters' familiar care. Nothing was stolen. The sisters had simply ceased to be. The local sheriff's investigation revealed no signs of forced entry, no footprints outside. The town was riven with whispers about the mysterious Eastern visitors, and a surge in coded telegrams sent to far-off cities. The town banker, under pressure, revealed that Gabriel had been making large, unexplained withdrawals of gold and receiving payments from Eastern sources with no connection to his business. The Thornfield fortune, it seemed, was built on something darker than commerce. The case eventually drew the attention of federal investigators, who uncovered a sophisticated criminal organization operating under the guise of a business called the Rocky Mountain Development Company. This network specialized in what they called domestic placement, targeting vulnerable families in isolated communities with promises of a better life for their daughters, only to traffic them into forced marriages and servitude back east. Gabriel Thornfield's correspondence, discovered later, showed he had been a willing agent for this network for years, identifying targets in exchange for the capital that built his empire. The disappearance of his own daughters was the organization's final demand, payment for a debt he could not refuse. The truth, when it finally emerged from a hidden archive found in a Chicago warehouse in 1922, was more devastating than any mystery. The sisters had not vanished into thin air. They had been delivered into a life of silent captivity. Photographs showed them alive, years after Selkirk, their eyes holding a profound sadness. Margaret had been forced to marry a steel magnate in Cleveland. Catherine's artistic talent was exploited by a husband in Milwaukee. The twins were cruelly separated, each told the other had died. Sarah perished from neglect and abuse. Grace, her brilliant mind forced to aid criminal schemes, died in childbirth. The youngest, Rebecca, passed away from illness after years of being moved between holding facilities, never deemed suitable for the marriage market she was meant to supply. The conspiracy reached into the highest levels of business and government, protected by corruption and silence. Gabriel Thornfield, it was revealed, had known their fates all along, marking the dates of their forced marriages on the headstones he erected in the local cemetery, a secret record of his complicity and their suffering. The tragedy of the Seven Sisters of Selkirk stands as a stark monument to the price of the American dream, when it is built upon a foundation of exploitation and the betrayal of the most vulnerable. Their story is not just a cold case, but a permanent stain on the history of the frontier, a reminder that the greatest mysteries are often born from the darkest truths.